Hello.
Hello. Hey. Welcome to
The
Liquidity event.
Liquidity event.
We are your hosts, Shane.
AJ.
And John.
Whoa.
That's right. We got a threefer.
Triple threat.
Together we are BKFI-tron. And today is a very, very special episode of the Liquidity event. This is episode number 50. We're 50 weeks old.
Wow.
That's right.
Actually, 51 weeks old. I think you guys took a week off.
Shut
Wow. Well, I guess the first one was what, episode 0?
Yeah, what are we
counting?
Yeah, when did the numbers in the computer stop working? Y2K?
Y2K.
Was last year a leap year?
How you guys doing?
We're good.
We're all in Brooklyn right now, which is weird.
Oh, true.
It's also weird that it took us 40 minutes to set up the audio for this episode.
Doing it in person is always a mess. For anyone that listened to our episode from the retreat,
Messy.
That was very awkward to do this in person as compared to remotely.
Yeah, so I'm in my office and John's in my living room, even though we're in the same place.
Hi, AJ.
Oh, it's a new painting I got. Love it. Love it. This is episode 50. We're recording this on July 13th, and it is airing on Friday, July 15th. So hope everyone has a nice weekend. You're probably listening to this Friday morning, maybe on a run or on your way to the pool or on your way to your job you hate. So thanks for listening, as always.
Nobody hates their jobs.
I don't hate my job. Actually, I do hate my job.
Mine's okay if I had better bosses, but anyway, different story.
There it is.
We've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We've got Elon Musk and Twitter again. Who cares? New CPA exam, paycheck protection program. Did it work? Did it not? Bunch of other stuff. Should we just not talk about articles and just kind of shoot the shit about what we're up to in money world today?
Well, first of all, I'd like to reintroduce Mr. John Owens for folks that have missed the episodes that he's done in the past. He is our director of financial planning here at Brooklyn FI. He's co-hosted. How many episodes now, John, have you done with us?
I think 4 or 5. I got a sweatshirt. It's kind of like a 5-timer club thing. So this might be number 5. But always glad to be here.
Yeah. Always fun to have you. We don't have that many articles, AJ. So maybe we can get through them and maybe just spitball. But I think we just have like 7. Oh, my Starlink article gets shifted to the back as usual. You guys heard enough Starlink stuff from me?
Oh, there's new Starlink news? Can't wait. Let me guess.
New Starlink news.
There's more Starlinks coming.
That's 1 article down, 6 to go.
Shane will be able to work even more remotely than he does currently if this continues.
That is true. All right. So Elon Musk, just to recap anyone who's not familiar, put in a bid to buy Twitter. What was it, back in May?
April's when this all kind of started to go down.
Transactions going through due diligence, ready to go, and then basically signed an agreement to purchase Twitter and now wants out of it. And it's now saying that Twitter violated its terms. So Twitter is now suing Elon Musk in court. We've talked about that before, but what is really interesting is not what's going on with Elon and Twitter, but this article about Elon Musk's fixer. This guy who is basically Elon Musk's like number one right-hand guy who like deals with his money, deals with his life problems. Did anyone read this one? Does anyone know who this guy is?
Should we kind of explain what this is? Because I don't know if none of our listeners probably have their own family office, right? And that's kind of what this is getting at here. And like, what is a family office and kind of how that works? And basically, it's like if you're rich enough, instead of hiring a financial planner like Brooklyn FI, you just be like, I'm just going to build my own financial planning firm to deal with all this stuff for me, which is kind of what Elon Musk does. And lots of wealthy people, Bill Gates, Bezos, all of them.
Right. So this guy is the head of Elon Musk's family office. So he's running, not just his personal investments, he's running all of his real estate investments, his foundations. I believe he sits on boards at Tesla and I think a few other companies that Elon's a part of. So it's basically like this guy is like the CEO of Elon Musk's money is like a good way to put it, I think. And he's like a guy, right? He has like experience in the money management space. He was at Morgan Stanley. I think he was fired for cause or something, or for some minor
I looked that part up.
What happened?
Yeah.
You looked it up?
I think he got fired he went to Goldman after going to Brigham Young. His name's Burchall, by the way, or Birchall. He graduated in 1999. He's the head of the family office. He worked in private wealth at Merrill, where he was fired for sending correspondence to a client without management approval.
Compliance.
John, you're like more compliancy. What is that? What do you think that means?
Officer Krupke have to say about this?
Yeah, Officer Krupke. Basically, what that means is that any type of client deliverable in many of the investment spaces needs to be reviewed by the CCO. There's lots of rules around like marketing, and the SEC's definition of marketing is very broad. And so a lot of times things just need to be approved. You're saying it to multiple clients, and it sounds like this guy broke the rules or said something he shouldn't have said. And they got him. And that side of the business, the broker dealer, the big bank side of the business is much, has a lot of tight regulatory rules with FINRA, the SEC. And so you busted. But it seems like he landed on his feet.
At Morgan Stanley. So this guy's worked at Goldman, Merrill, and Morgan Stanley. So probably one of the coolest people you've ever met.
Bet she has a Patagonia vest.
Nobody.
A little bit of sarcasm emoji coming off the Shane over there. What if he?
But
what if he sent like a birthday card to a client? And that was the unapproved correspondence?
I doubt it.
That's a birthday card?
What if he slid into a client's DMs?
Yeah.
And that was the unapproved correspondence.
Anyway, now he's managing a bunch of money for Mr. Musk. And apparently he's...
Again, I think he landed on his feet.
Yeah, he's fine. He's going to be...
Do you have to be Mormon to go to Brigham Young?
It's a Mormon university. I don't think you have to be explicitly Mormon, but you might feel a bit out of place.
But you have to follow the rules, like 3 feet on the floor type stuff.
Wait, what's 3 feet on the floor?
Like if you have a guest over your dorm room, there needs to be 3 feet on the floor at all times, if you know what I'm saying.
No problem.
Ah. Yeah, it seems not bad. Yeah. I don't get that rule. I usually keep.
Anyways, moving on. Speaking of 3 feet on the floor, the blueprint for the new CPA exam is out. For those of you...
What? It's kind of segue.
I wasn't done with Elon. I wanted to read about his lawsuit.
Oh, all right, fine.
He's getting ripped. All right, so if you want something interesting, if you're a nerd and you're boring like me, go read the lawsuit that Twitter filed against Elon. And you can read any of these points, they're all great. But number 7 is, Musk's exit strategy is a model of hypocrisy. The reason why he wanted to buy Twitter was to improve the user experience and defeat the spam bots. And now he's saying there's too many spam bots, basically, and that Twitter lied to get out of it. So they spend 65 pages here ripping Elon Musk in this filing in the Delaware Chancery Court, which is where all this corporate shit gets litigated. But yeah, it's if you want to pour yourself a cup of tea and read this, I highly recommend it. They have screenshots of his tweets in it and how he violated it.
Yeah, it's legal briefs don't typically include memes, but they're actually using his memes against him because they're he never took this seriously. And this is evidence of that he was never serious in the first place and misled Twitter, which is part of their lawsuit. So,
yeah.
It's pretty informal. Yeah. So you can get this at documentcloud.org. If you just search for the Twitter versus Elon Musk complaint. And I mean, the beginning of paragraph 7, for example, is Musk's exit strategy is a model of hypocrisy.
Yeah.
It's just the first sentence on page 3. And then there's a lot of more fun stuff to follow.
And there's screenshots of text messages in here. It's kind of like you're having a fight with your ex or something like that. You'd be like, all right, but you said this on this day to me. Here you go.
So some people think he's on the hook for the full damages, not just the difference between, not just the $1 billion that was the price to back out of the deal, but also the damages, as in the difference between the offer price and the current price, which he offered, 55? And what's the
$16 billion?
Yeah, even more than that. It's 20, 30 billion, I think, at this point, with where Twitter's at.
I think
that's a tough one.
I think the total price he's going to pay was $44 billion. I think the market cap around now is $28 billion. And so the thought was that if you don't want to buy it, that's fine. Just give us a check for $16 billion and we'll leave it to you.
Call it even.
Which if somebody wants to give me a check for $16 billion, I'll leave them alone. That's for sure.
I mean, it's not a bad strategy to accept that buyout deal. And it's like insurance against the value of your company going down. Hey, this guy wants to buy us. If it goes up in value, all right, we're fair price. If it goes down in value, then we're guaranteed to receive. I guess there's no guarantee here. It depends on whose lawyers are smarter. There was
that. Find out.
Awesome Succession meme where somebody was talking to talking to Elon's lawyer. He's like, "Who's your lawyer, Mr. fucking Magoo?" Just one of the greatest scenes from Succession, who just got nominated for an Emmy, by the way.
20,000 Emmys.
Deserves every ounce of that award. Yeah, best show on TV. You guys are going all out of order. What's next? More Elon stuff?
No, I want to talk about
Shane, tell us about
the
CPA
blueprint for the
exam.
CPA exam.
What the hell? I have no idea what's going on.
Sounds riveting. What do you got?
I didn't even post this. You posted this.
Well, basically, in a nutshell, CPA exam, super easy, like, really easy to become a CPA. You just pass a few tests, like not a hard licensing exam at all. They've tried to make it a little bit harder for all those accountants out there by adding in some...
Keep Shane on his feet, episode 50.
By adding in some financial planning in the exam.
I'm doing the Arthur fist right now under the table.
So super easy exam. They're like auditing, tax, accounting, easy stuff, right? For most people to pass. So they needed to raise the barrier of entry a little bit higher. So they added in some financial planning questions to the exam.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's basically what happened.
That's liquidity event at brooklynfi.com. Name in town, keep it short and sweet. Our CPA listeners who have something to say.
All right, I'm hijacking this thread. So yeah, the CPA exam is notorious for teaching CPAs how to do a bunch of shit that they don't need to learn how to do. Because you either go into audit or tax, and you have to learn both of them to become a CPA, which is unfortunate. Like most of the stuff I learned on the exam, I have not used over the past 12 years of practice. And one thing about the CPA is it's becoming more and more irrelevant, and that's kind of having an existential crisis within the AI CPA, is that fewer and fewer people are becoming CPAs because the credential isn't as relevant as it used to be, and accountants are notorious for being conservative and slow to move. So this is good news that they're updating the exam to include more things that impact your day-to-day consumer. So they're adding stuff around small business retirement plans, like understanding how IRAs work, Roth IRAs, 401ks, annuities, a bunch of financial planning stuff, as my esteemed colleagues just said. So, people don't know that CPAs, they think they know everything about finances just because they're CPAs or accountants, but I've seen some of the most horrendous advice come out of CPAs' mouths because they know just enough to be dangerous and recommend whole life insurance to people in their mid-20s with no kids, as an example. So this is really cool that we're going to get some more literacy distributed through the CPAs that are already really well trusted as a trusted advisor. They're actually going to get the data or the information that CFPs know is actually good advice. So more power to the board.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge consumer win because most people don't have a financial planner, but most people who have taxes that are complex enough, meaning they make, they've got some complexity, like they have a CPA, right? So if that CPA knows a little bit about retirement accounts, like that advice is just going to be a lot more widespread. So I think just generally in terms of nationwide financial literacy, this is a win. That a bunch of CPAs are going to complain about the adding the module and the test prep and all that, but
yeah. Well, what can you do? People don't like change.
Especially accountants.
Speaking of non-changing accountants. The study came out of the St. Louis Fed about the impact of the Paycheck Protection Program. Some of you may remember that from the year 2020 as a giant package targeted at business owners to help keep people on the payroll. Instead of giving individuals money, the government decided to filter that through businesses and pay them to keep people on the payroll. In order to have your loans forgiven from this program, you had to keep people on payroll, which is a very novel plan from the government. In addition to the economic injury disaster loans, as well as the unemployment insurance payments and the economic income payments, aka stimmy checks or Trump bucks, if you're my friends, that went on unemployment, which was really funny. Name for those. It was one of the many packages and policies that was implemented to help keep America afloat. Some would argue it's also one of the reasons that we're seeing high inflation rates right now because the Fed was just pumping out dollars. So this is a really cool study that's actually written in plain English about how impactful the program was. Apparently, for every roughly $4 for every $1 of wages and benefits received by workers and saved jobs were paid by taxpayers. So that's not great. You had to pay $4 to keep $1 of wages. I mean, the TLDR on here is that we did. The other impact or the other stat that sticks out is that for every $4 issued, $3 went to business owners and only $1 went to the actual workers at the businesses that received these funds. And that it was a really important program, but it was just really terribly targeted and didn't go to people that actually needed it. Unlike the unemployment insurance programs and the stimulus payments, which only 20% of those, or only 20% of that went to the top 20% of income earners in the United States. So essentially, it was a giant handout to business owners to the tune of $800 billion.
It's like great. You know what I mean? Like this is obviously like lesson learned. There's things to do better here. I think a couple of things that people forget in all this is number one, in normal times, if you're a business owner, you can't collect unemployment. And so like there isn't that backstop if you own your business. Now that was kind of unique in COVID times. There was a little bit of a benefit there, but not much, only on the federal side. Most states didn't do it. It was the federal supplement. I think the other piece is that like, here we are 2.5 years after COVID, we did not go into a depression. The economy is still functioning. Obviously we've got some issues, but like we landed the plane. And so it's like, okay, yeah, maybe we learned something for next time. But if you could go back and you're sitting in our offices when we used to sit in offices in March of 2020 and the sky is falling down, it's like, yeah, let's throw a couple $1 trillion at it and see what happens, because what's the alternative?
Yeah. Right. And what the alternative? Okay, fine. So let's say all of that money didn't go to business owners. Let's say only 15% of the rest went to the employees. Well, then what happens to those businesses? Like the business owners still need that money to keep there's no income coming in the door. So maybe the reporting requirements weren't stringent enough. Maybe it wasn't managed as well as it could have been, but those businesses would have gone away anyways. Like it's kind of like it's like, which evil do you choose? And this was the one that we chose. And, imagining that the next time this happens, because it will, right? There will be some kind of program that needs to get designed that accountants are going to have to figure out and Congress is going to have to jam through quickly. That's going to be mostly well thought out, but there's going to be big blind spots in it. Like we've done it. Yeah. What did we learn? First rodeo, right? Although I guess it's not technically the first rodeo considering all the other rodeos before, but the modern age of the new millennium, first rodeo in handouts to business owners.
Yeah, I think economists fall on two sides of the camp here. Is like, do you embrace austerity in terms of like what we got with the Great Depression and after the recession? A lot of people think we didn't pump enough money into the economy. And this is the other side where it's like, don't even target it, just pump it out into the economy as quickly as you can. And hey, if it doesn't work out perfectly, like let's say 75% of it goes to quote unquote waste, at least it's out there and we didn't have a repeat of the Great Recession with massive layoffs that were long-term.
I remember reading like Rahm Emanuel and I think David Axelrod talked about like in Obama when they were coming out of the recession. It's like, oh, if we don't get $1 trillion in our stimulus plan, no big deal because we have a supermajority in Congress with the Democrats and the Senate. Like we'll just come back for another bite at the apple. And like, but that's the thing with this. Like we've learned, like there's not necessarily another bite at the apple, so you just jam it all in.
Yeah, our presidential system is totally flawless here in the United States.
Right. It's timing of who gets to be the hero, and the timing is like playing dice with the American worker who needs that paycheck to feed their family.
Helicopter money.
Yeah, exactly. What else we got here?
You have the startup article from the Times that doesn't have a ton of meat on the bone in terms of us, but it's a fun one. Do you want to talk about this one, AJ?
I would love to.
Oh, sorry. Push you on the spot.
If I had,
I know you've had a busy week. Do you
if
want
I
me to
had read it, I would love.
Here we go.
Can I guess what it's about? I'm gonna guess. Okay, tell me the title, and I'm gonna tell you the content. This is a fun game. What's the title?
Oh no. Goodness! Someone didn't.
What's
do
the title?
Homework.
Startup equity is a great retirement plan if you can pull it off. So I'm gonna guess this article is interviews a bunch of startup founders or employees who put their equity in their 401k and hit it big. And they had millions and millions of dollars, and somehow they were able to have a self-directed 401k and they put that in there and they're super rich and happy. And then someone else is coming here and saying,
colder.
Negative.
Oh dear God. Change the tell us. This is getting embarrassing.
You're getting colder. It's way
What's
less
it about?
interesting than that. Although that sounds really fun. It's literally just interviewing people that work at startups and how they've like hit it big. And how most startups don't have 401ks.
Oh.
And then, yeah. And it's just like, instead of having a 401k, they have equity, which has always struck me as incredibly silly. Like,
why not both?
Why not both? Yeah, like
it's not that hard.
It's not hard at all. Our 401k costs $50 a month and then $8 per participant in addition, which means it costs Brooklyn FI like under $1,000 a month. And that means our employees get to save hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, it's not an expensive thing, especially if you're venture backed.
To even just like have the thing, like, fine, you don't want to do a match because you have equity. Like, that's fine, right? That's compensation. Like, you don't have to do a match to have a 401k. You just have to offer it. Like, damn, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like, make it easy, set up the automatic enrollment, do all that stuff so you help your employees make smart decisions, because otherwise there are people that are just going to get caught up in the fact, like, well, these options, they're going to be my ticket. We're a company that makes VCRs. It's 1990s. It's like, oh boy.
Yeah, or just like, what if you leave? What if your circumstances change? Like, you can't. In some cases, you can't take that equity with you because it hasn't vested yet. You haven't been there for 4 years for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Your 401k, you absolutely get to take that with you. It's your money. I don't know. Ugh. I like my article better.
Yeah. Did they reference the Student Loan Hero acquisition as well? Did you know the guy that owned the Student Loan Hero, AJ? I feel like that was your bud. Or is that a different one?
Student loan paying it off app.
It's my
good bud. Student Loan Hero, great. I mean, great product. That's a fantastic resource, by the way. If anyone listening has student loans, Student Loan Hero, lots of great calculators and articles and just like plain language explanation for complex government websites.
Indeed. Speaking of startups, there's this great article that you found, AJ, in Business Insider about creating home libraries for celebrities. That as soon as you posted this, for some reason, I knew Gwyneth Paltrow was going to be in this article.
Well, first of all,
this is a Business Insider.
I was crying reading this article. I was like, why didn't I think of this? I grew up in bookstores. Yeah. This is my career for like most of my 20s.
This is the business AJ actually wanted to launch instead of Brooklyn FI. This is her.
Yeah, had I had that guy on my podcast, would have been a whole different trajectory. I would have been picking out yellow books for Gwyneth Paltrow right now instead of talking to you idiots.
John'd still be talking about RMDs over at Vintage.
This is an awesome business, right? Books, most people read them, but if you've got a huge
wow. Insights. That's why y'all come here.
Analysis, everybody.
Hold on, I'm getting there. If you got a big old house with a library in it, you got to fill it with books, right? And if maybe you're a busy celebrity or a busy running a company, you want to fill it with good books. So you hire this guy who knows a lot about books to fill it with you get to tell him what kind of books you want, whether they look pretty or they're a certain subject. I think this is an amazing business idea. And he says, it's like he'll do a small little shelf for you. And then there's like 7-figure commissioned libraries for celebrities. So here's my 2 weeks.
Seems like your background's already set there, AJ. So you don't need to worry. But
that's true. All right. I have a question for the team, the group.
What's that?
What are you worried about in your financial life right now, if anything?
I have too much stuff for somebody that moves around so much. I have a car, a boat, a dog, a storage unit, and no permanent home. So I've got like a bunch of winter clothes. So I just like every time those monthly fees hit, I'm just like, what am I doing? Transitioning into being a full-time nomad. I think life is set up to be not sedentary, but like have a primary residence.
Follow-up question.
So it's fun.
Do you think there is a tool or product or person out there who can help you?
Oh, probably. There's like a guy for everything, right? Quote unquote, not to be sexist.
Play some YouTube videos. You watch some Marie Kondo videos to get a little bit more organized there, Shane. Figure out, does this bring me joy? Does this parka bring me joy?
Does the guy's stuff that I'm subleasing from bring me joy? No.
No.
Throw it out the window.
Throw it out. Get rid of it.
Do these 17 Amazon boxes full of painting supplies bring me joy? Negative.
What about you, John? What are you worried about?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get too caught up and worried about the market or the inflation situation. I think both of which are transitory. I think that one of the things that is on my mind is like I don't want to say lifestyle creep, but like lifestyle adjustment post-COVID. This is like the first real summer we've had in almost 3 years. And so when somebody says you want to do something, like I've just said yes and done it and not really thought twice about it. And so, I'm pretty austere in terms of my budgeting, but it's still one of those things that 2022 is going to be a higher spending year, not only because costs have gone up, but because, we're coming back to, being able to have a life and being able to do things, which isn't a bad thing, but just something to be mindful of.
So what's the solution out there, tech or person, that's going to fix that? for you?
Yeah, I think I just need to track my spending a little bit better. I think, I think that's the biggest thing. And then better, which I do in my custom Excel sheet, and then think about, not in an app or anything like that, of course, because that wouldn't be Malumerish. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just gonna go have fun, YOLO.
That's the solution, is YOLO.
Yeah. Sorry, this isn't an advice.
No, I was actually curious. I mean, I think it's. I think a lot of people right now are.
What are you worried about, AJ?
I'm worried about complexity, and like I have anxiety about missing deadlines and payments. Like now I have a mortgage and I have property taxes and I have cable bills. Like I have this kind of like looming anxiety that I'm going to miss a payment and they're going to take my house away or turn off my electric bill or water. And I have everything set on autopay.
Whoa. Sounds like you need a family office.
I probably need a family office. Everything's set on autopay.
May I suggest
maybe virtual looking for another client.
Mason family office?
I've done all the due diligence. I've like checked all the boxes, but it's just like kind of like you, Shane. Like when it's this, we all work from home. It's awesome, but I am moving around a lot. I am traveling a lot. There's like a lot of like little things that I just constantly feel like I'm forgetting about something big, and it's gonna like bite me in the butt in the future. But yeah, a lot of our clients I think are worried about the market. Just the market in general, but also the performance of their company because they have ownership in that company and they were maybe counting on that for their retirement or their home down payment. So I've just been having a lot of conversations with clients about worry and like how to separate out like worry and like address that feeling, accept it, welcome it, but not actually make big, huge life decisions based on those feelings because ultimately they are feelings. What three of us just described things in our lives that, John, you were talking about like spending too much. I'm like, well, I haven't even like thought about that, but like that's taking up so much like headspace for you. So I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'm just getting at like, it's worry. That's all it is. Like we shouldn't make decisions based on emotional feelings.
Yeah. I think it's like, I think that like this is a broader like life lesson takeaway here, which is like, if you're thinking irrationally about something and you can at least recognize that, just go talk to somebody. It doesn't even matter who. Be like, hey, like, am I crazy for thinking like this? Like, is this not? And like, yeah, like, hey, let's bring it back down a notch. Like, John, you go out like once a week. Like, it's not a big deal. Your budget's probably fine. Okay, you live in Amish country. I think it'll be all right. But it's and AJ, you're very organized. Like, but I think we can get in our heads and we can make stupid.
Wait, nothing positive to say about me.
Shane, if you got a parka to get rid of, I could use a new parka. I'm going to have another one of these Northeastern winters, so let me know. I'll try it.
I actually
Is it a Canada Goose?
I actually will give you all my winter clothes.
Is it a Canada Goose? I hope it's a nice. I would never buy one of those, but they're pretty slick.
I'm imagining you.
More of a Patagonia vest, bro. I was kind of thinking.
All my clothing prior to COVID is like secondhand, so I don't think you're gonna want. I think you're gonna want that stuff.
I got a question for you guys. 50 episodes in, how do you like this? You guys still having fun? You still enjoying this?
Definitely.
It was an experiment.
It was an experiment. Definitely having fun. Definitely love doing the podcast. Like 75% of the time.
60% of the time it works. All the time.
Super jazzed. Like, oh man, that was a great episode. And then sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to do this. I have other stuff to do. I want to go home. I want to take a nap. Like over it. But no, it's been a lot of fun. And I think it was a success. We've got a lot of amazing listeners. I talk to clients all the time who listen to the pod. People who want to work at Brooklyn FI listen to the pod. People in bars come up to Shane and tell him how great of a podcast host he is so he can do well in the Brooklyn dating scene, which we talked about in a previous episode.
It's the only reason I do the pod.
So no, here's to 50 more, my friends. Thank you for listening to episode 50 of the Liquidity event. You've been a great audience. You can find the show notes at brooklynfi.com/episode 50. See you next week. Bye.
Bye, everybody.